What we are witnessing unfold right now is honestly one of the most uncomfortable, saddest public spirals I've seen in a long time. And it's uncomfortable not because people are hating, but because it feels like watching someone actively sabotage their own legacy in real time. Claressa Shields is not just any athlete. She is a once-in-a-generation talent, someone who came from nothing, fought her way out of circumstances that would have broken most people, and became a champion in a sport that rarely gives women, especially Black women, the recognition they deserve. That's why this situation hits so differently, because this isn't about gossip anymore. This is about image, focus, accountability, and a house of cards that is visibly collapsing right in front of us. At the center of it all is one very clear issue. The married man Claressa publicly refers to as her boyfriend refuses to protect her, defend her, or fully stand beside her. And that refusal has exposed just how fragile this entire situation really is. When you strip away the social media posts, the clout moments, and the public appearances, what you're left with is a woman fighting battles alone, battles she shouldn't even be in to begin with. And the result of that isolation is what led to one of the most embarrassing moments of this entire saga. Claressa calling into that live pretending to be someone else was not just awkward, it was heartbreaking. She didn't call in confidently as herself, she didn't own her choices, she didn't stand 10 toes down in truth. Instead, she tried to mask her identity, as if people wouldn't immediately recognize her voice. And let's be honest here, Claressa Shields has a very distinctive voice. That's not an insult, that's just reality. So the moment she opened her mouth, the jig was already up. But what made it worse was that she couldn't even maintain the act. She started speaking in the third person, then slowly slipped into the first person. I, me, my. That slip wasn't just a mistake, it was symbolic. It showed how fractured her position really is. And once the mask fell, the tone shifted immediately into victimhood. Why are y'all doing this to me? Why are people always lying? Why won't people leave me alone? But here's the issue. People aren't confused about how this started. The narrative didn't come out of thin air. The public knows that Claressa went into Remy Ma's DMs asking for help, guidance, fashion support, and connection. That part is documented. And the public also knows that after that, she went into Remy's husband's DMs. That is the root of this entire situation, and that is the one thing Claressa refuses to directly address. Instead, she wants to categorize all criticism as hate, and that's a convenient shield, because if everyone is a hater, then she never has to sit with accountability. She never has to ask herself, did I play a role in this? She never has to examine how her actions contributed to the backlash she's receiving. But accountability doesn't disappear just because someone refuses to acknowledge it. It shows up anyway, in consequences, in perception, and in reputation. Things crossed an entirely different line when she called Remy out of her name, because at that point, you have to ask a very simple question. What did Remy actually deserve to get that? Remy didn't insert herself into Claressa's life. Remy didn't antagonize her publicly. Remy didn't provoke this situation. The only reason Remy's name is even involved is because Claressa involved herself in her marriage. That's it. And when someone lashes out at the wrong person, it often reveals something deeper: resentment, insecurity, and obsession. There is an unspoken realization sitting underneath all of this, and it's one Claressa doesn't want to face. She will never have what Remy has with Papoose. Not legally, not emotionally, not spiritually, not permanently. They are still married, they share a child, they are forever connected in ways Claressa will never be part of. And that reality is painful, especially when you're emotionally invested in someone who cannot fully invest back. That's where desperation creeps in. That's where behavior starts to unravel. And that's exactly what we saw on that call. But the real heartbreak of this entire situation isn't the call itself, it's the reason she felt compelled to make it. Claressa didn't call into that live because she's confident, she didn't call in because she's secure, she called in because the man she calls my man refused to step up and defend her. And that right there is the saddest part of all, because protection isn't just about words. The highest form of protection would have been not engaging in this situation at all, while still married. But even after choosing to be involved, he still doesn't defend her when the heat is on. The 50 Cent situation made that painfully clear. When that AI meme went viral, mocking Claressa, embarrassing her, and spreading across the internet, everyone saw it. The entire culture saw it. And when Papoose finally responded, it wasn't to defend Claressa, it wasn't to shut down disrespect, it wasn't to protect her name. Instead, he turned it into a rap moment, a skill showcase, a personal image repair. And in that moment, Claressa realized something she didn't want to admit. She was on her own. She later revealed that she thought he was going to handle it, but felt like she had to step in herself. That statement alone speaks volumes, because when a woman feels unprotected, especially in a public relationship, it exposes the imbalance immediately. And the contrast between how he handles Claressa versus how he handles Remy makes it impossible to ignore the truth. We saw that contrast clearly on The Breakfast Club. The moment Claressa even began to position herself in comparison to Remy, Papoose shut it down instantly. No hesitation, no soft landing, no ambiguity. He protected his wife with a quickness. That's not accidental, that's instinctual. That's where his loyalty lies. And Claressa sees that, she feels that. And that realization is part of why this house of cards is crumbling. Even at Claressa's own press conference, an event that should have been entirely about her boxing career, her upcoming match with Franchon, her skill, her discipline, and her legacy, the focus shifted. Cameras were rolling, business was happening, and once again, Papoose found a way to center himself, freestyling, talking about money, talking about image, briefly lifting Claressa's hand like a prop, then dropping it almost immediately. Every public moment between them seems to benefit him far more than it benefits her, and that's a pattern. Meanwhile, Claressa's craft is suffering. People didn't tune in to watch relationship drama, they tuned in to watch her box. And even commenters are noticing that her last fight lacked the fire and focus she's known for. Not because she lost her talent, but because her attention is divided. Her emotional energy is invested in a situation that gives her nothing solid in return. However, Claressa didn't move in silence. She didn't protect her image. She didn't keep things private. Instead, she proudly paraded the situation in front of the world, speaking recklessly and saying things that made people seriously question her judgment. She spoke on being with another woman's husband as if it was a trophy, as if being chosen in secret meant she had somehow won something. And for a while, she seemed convinced that she was living in what the internet now calls delusional side chick paradise, that phase where someone truly believes the married man will eventually leave his wife and make her the main one. But what people are seeing now is the inevitable ending of that fantasy, because almost every story like this ends the same way. Social media has been lighting up with commentary, warnings, and hard truths, especially from women who've lived through this exact situation before. They're saying, don't follow this path. It never ends pretty. Karma doesn't miss, and when you knowingly involve yourself in someone else's marriage, it always spins back around. Claressa's situation has become a cautionary tale, not because people hate her, but because she refused to listen when the warning signs were right in front of her. And now we've hit the plot twist that changed everything. Word on the street is that Papoose, the same man Claressa has been loudly claiming, finally packed his bags and caught a flight straight back to New York. According to multiple sources and online chatter, he's reportedly back with his wife. Whether it's temporary or not, the message is loud and clear. He chose to step back into his marriage, and the moment that happened, Claressa's entire world seemed to shift overnight. People online are saying she's spiraling. The constant attention she was used to getting suddenly vanished. Calls allegedly stopped getting answered, messages went ignored, and when someone builds their public persona around my man and that man disappears without explanation, the emotional crash is brutal. What we're watching now is the fallout of that crash playing out publicly, live and unfiltered. Claressa has been jumping on live streams, ranting, flexing money, flashing jewelry, talking about receipts, talking about fight money, and trying desperately to show that she's still winning. But the energy doesn't read confident anymore. It reads frantic. It reads like someone trying to convince themselves that they haven't just lost everything they were emotionally clinging to. The more she talks, the clearer it becomes that she's unraveling, and the silence from his side is making it worse. Some clips even show her threatening violence, saying if he were standing in front of her right now, she'd put hands on him. That alone stunned a lot of people, not because emotions don't happen, but because she's losing control in public while he remains quiet, detached, and unbothered. And silence, especially in situations like this, speaks louder than any livestream ever could. Now, let's talk about the conversation that's been growing louder online, because people aren't just reacting emotionally anymore, they're analyzing patterns. Many are calling this behavior Jezebel spirit energy, meaning it's rooted in envy, manipulation, comparison, and obsession. Whether you agree with that label or not, one thing is undeniable: the pattern is there, and it's uncomfortable to watch. Fans have been piecing together Claressa's behavior for years and pointing out that it looks like she's been trying to become the wife instead of being herself. That's a massive red flag. Reports claim she's been lurking on Remy Ma's social media for years, allegedly studying her outfits, copying her jewelry, mirroring her travel locations, and even adopting her tone of voice and catchphrases. At first, people brushed it off as admiration, but admiration doesn't turn into imitation at this level. When someone starts trying to replicate another woman's entire identity, that's no longer inspiration, that's fixation. Things took an even stranger and more embarrassing turn when Claressa allegedly called into a YouTube show pretending to be someone else. Viewers caught on almost immediately. The voice didn't match the story, the details didn't line up, and before she could even finish the act, she exposed herself in real time. It was painful to watch. She tried to pivot into a victim narrative, acting like she was misunderstood, attacked, and unfairly targeted, but the comments weren't buying it. People were ruthless, calling her out for playing games and dodging accountability. And here's the part that really sealed it. Every time Claressa tries to defend herself, she ends up exposing even more about what's really going on. The more she talks, the more people realize that this entire situation is built on half-truths, jealousy, and denial. This isn't just a love triangle anymore. It's a full-blown love polygon, filled with manipulation, ego, and competition. Then came the moment that truly shocked the internet: Claressa getting Papoos's name tattooed on her body. People could not believe it. The reaction was immediate and brutal. Fans called it desperate, embarrassing, and reckless, especially considering the man is still legally married. Tattoos don't make love permanent, they don't secure loyalty, and you definitely don't need to brand your skin to prove affection, especially for someone who belongs to another woman. Meanwhile, Remy is still wearing her wedding ring. Papoose already has his wife's name tattooed on him. That contrast alone tells the entire story without anyone saying a word. After Pap purportedly returned to New York, Claressa popped up courtside at a Pistons game in Detroit, dressed up, smiling, and clearly trying to appear unbothered. But fans weren't fooled. People who were there said she was loud, dramatic, and desperate for attention. Security allegedly had to step in because she was blocking the court. It was chaotic, and instead of making her look confident, it made her look completely out of control. That same lack of composure showed up again during her local Detroit news interview. What should have been a professional moment to promote her career turned into a strange fashion display, with her posing, shifting, and flashing her boots like she was on a runway instead of a news segment. Viewers online dragged her for it, calling the behavior tacky, unpolished, and lacking class. It felt like she forgot the difference between a social media live and a professional interview. While Claressa continues calling Remy Pap's ex-wife, reality paints a very different picture. Remy and Pap have been spotted together, shopping, spending holidays, and moving like a married couple. Meanwhile, Claressa has been left solo, shopping by herself, flashing luxury bags, posting long receipts, and trying to convince the internet that she's still winning. At one point, she even tried to spin the narrative and claim Pap bought her all the Louis Vuitton, even when the timeline didn't make sense. The internet was not impressed. Comments rolled in calling it corny, embarrassing, and borderline delusional. People are watching someone cling desperately to a fantasy that's clearly falling apart, and it's uncomfortable to witness. At the end of the day, this is what happens when someone knowingly enters a married man's life and turns it into a competition. It stops being about love and becomes about one-upping the wife, copying her life, mirroring her style, and trying to replace her entirely. That mindset is dangerous. It mixes obsession with delusion, and it almost always ends in humiliation. This situation isn't just messy, it's a warning. Claressa is trading dignity for clout, and right now, she seems too caught up in attention to realize the long-term damage she's doing to her reputation. The internet never forgets, screenshots last forever, and this kind of public meltdown sticks to your image long after the gossip dies down. The saddest part is that Claressa didn't need any of this. She already had success, talent, money, and a platform. But instead of protecting her legacy, she chose chaos. Every live stream, every rant, every attention-seeking stunt just adds fuel to a fire she started herself. And eventually, the cameras turn off, the crowd moves on, and you're left alone with the consequences. What makes this even more painful is that Claressa often speaks about God, blessings, and favor, and yet every time that still, small voice tells her to pause, to take the higher road, to choose wisdom, she ignores it. We saw it with the toy drive incident. We saw it with the bloggers. We saw it in her online outbursts. Each time, her brand takes another hit, and the brands she wants right now, the major endorsements, the clean partnerships, they're not touching this. It's too unstable, it's too messy. This is what happens when someone prioritizes emotional validation over long-term purpose. Claressa already has what so many people pray for: talent, opportunity, platform, and legacy. And yet she's chasing something that falls dramatically short of what she's already been given. That's why this feels so tragic to watch. This truly is a house of cards, but the truth is, it doesn't have to end this way. It is never too late to pivot, never too late to refocus, never too late to choose growth over chaos. Claressa can still reclaim her narrative, but only if she's willing to put the distraction down and pick her purpose back up. Let me know what you think in the comments. Do you believe Claressa can turn this around, or has the damage already gone too far?